Okay, so I am the facilitator for this week's case study, which is Martha Rinaldi. Should she stay or should she go? So I'm just going to give a brief overview of what I think the case is about right now. So basically, Martha Rinaldi graduated as an MBA in 2008. And before she graduated, she was doing an internship at Deep Dive Pizza, which she enjoyed working at, and the people there really enjoyed having her as an intern. But when she was making her decision as to her career move after she graduated, she thought a lot about her future, and she decided that Potomac water, if I'm saying that correctly, would be her best option. And she arrives there and doesn't get a very warm reception from her product manager, the direct supervisor, or from her coworker, the assistant product manager. And she's kind of been there now for like 11 months, and she's at the end of 2009 or beginning of 2009, and she's trying to make a decision as to whether or not she wants to try and stick it out there at the company, not having a good working relationship or communication with her boss and coworker, or if she wants to go and take an offer that's still standing at Deep Dive Pizza, or if she should try and change positions within the company, but she doesn't want to seem to be hard to work with by wanting to ask for a different manager. So that's a brief synopsis. Okay. So the question is, how did Rinaldi get into this mess? What is the situation that she's in?
She encountered a new job where they weren't ready for her, obviously, because Jamie's question to her was, I thought you were going to start tomorrow. And then she opened up her email account and she gets an email from her boss saying, oh, we weren't ready for you. Just read all the material you can. So, that was kind of a rude awakening, because they thought that the people that were going to welcome her, the HR people, were going to have her all day, and they didn't realize that she was going to be coming so quickly.
Right. Katie and Carla, did you pick up on anything else from when she first began that you thought was important?
What was the question again?
So what's the situation that she ran into, like that she encountered when she first began her position? What were some of the dynamics that led to where she is right now?
I think that she had kind of different expectations from the company and from her coworkers. And I think that was the biggest thing in the beginning, was that she expected to be kind of mentored in the marketing department, have a really good relationship with her coworkers, and just have a good experience. And then just the fact that she wasn't meeting these things, like time after time, with each encounter with Paulette and Van.
Yep.
I think it just increased her dissatisfaction because she wasn't getting her needs met that she expected to receive.
Good. Katie, did you have anything that you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I kind of spaced for a second. I did have a thought. It was kind of going off of what everyone else was saying, that she was expecting a certain reception, and then when she got there, it almost seems like Vaughn and Follett preferred if she wasn't there. Kind of like they're having their own little party, and she's like the party pooper who keeps showing up, and so it's almost like she kind of gets that vibe from them over and over and over again. And so it's not really sure what's going on, what she's supposed to be doing, because they don't give her responsibilities. And the one time they do, they're like, okay, we're gonna use these numbers now, bye. And so I think she's kind of thinking, well, I should be recognized for my efforts. But I was talking to my dad about this case study earlier, and he was just like, that's the real world. I'm like, I'll be like, I was like, okay, Dad. And so that was kind of understood, or was what was going on.
So one of the things that I noticed too was that Vaughn seemed to have almost like a chip on his shoulder because of her education, right? like when she first comes, he says, well, why didn't you stay with Deep Dive Pizza? Why did you come here? With your MBA training, he would have thought that would have been a better career opportunity for her. So she has to explain herself there. And then he immediately proceeds to tell her that she's going to have to prove herself from day one. He's not going to have time to show her the ropes. So I thought that was a little bit rude. And then he proceeds to give her a copying job for 3 hours, copying things that he needs to have done. And that's like her first encounter with her coworker. So I thought that was pretty abrupt.
It was interesting because that was kind of the scenario that she ran into for the first few months she was there.
Right.
She got to go to meetings and meet all the other people, but then the next time she got to go meet with those individuals because she was gathering signatures for him.
Doing something for Vaughn.
It was more of an errand girl than she was anything else. She wasn't able to really be challenged or have an opportunity to prove herself, and it was becoming more and more frustrating. And she would try to go in and see Natalie, and she couldn't because, as she would attempt, she'd get mad and say, go talk to Jamie.
Right.
And so she was like, man, what am I doing wrong? I can't even get a moment of her time, how she converses with everybody else. And then she starts questioning her abilities and what she's doing. So it's kind of interesting how she encountered that right away.
Yeah. And I thought it was odd that Follett says to her on the first day, I thought you were going to be with HR all day. Why don't you read up on the marketing material? We'll meet tomorrow at 9:30. And then tomorrow at 9:30 comes around and she says, well, I'm still unprepared to meet with you. So that's kind of like he set up an expectation and she kind of went back on her word. Like if you were to tell somebody that you're going to meet with them tomorrow at 9:30, you would prepare for that meeting. You would give them, courtesy of putting some time and effort into it. And it's like she didn't even give it a second thought. The next day came around and it was like, oh, it's 9:30. I was supposed to meet with her. Oh, I'm still not ready. Why don't you go read some stuff? Like she just kept brushing her off. And even like after 5 weeks, after she met with all the department heads, she tries to meet with her again and she's not available. And she says, well, there must be more material for you to read up on. It was like almost she wanted her to get all of her training by reading the marketing material for the company, which seemed kind of strange.
And that's sort of what I thought too. If someone's coming into the company and you're introducing them into your department, you have preparations for them.
Right.
You have things that you do. You want to show them around, introduce them to the type of work that they're going to be doing, introducing them to the people in their department, making everything sociable for them, and also preparing them for the work that they're going to be doing. She had none of that.
Right.
She had no direction from her boss or from her coworker. And really, I didn't expect that Vaughn to do it, that Jamie, but definitely Natalie. Even though she was working from home, she still should have been prepared or had someone prepared for her.
Right. So you bring up a good point, Barb, where you said she was working from home. So it says what are some of the things that's going on with Follett? So what's her contribution to, I guess, what's going on with the relationship? So
well, apparently she got in trouble because it said for personal reasons working from home. So
does that mean that she got in trouble?
Well, it makes you wonder.
For personal reasons.
Personal reasons. I don't know. It just seemed kind of odd for her to be in the position she was to be working from home. I mean, if you're going to be in the role where she is, you'd think she would have been hands-on right there in the office.
Right. I kind of got the impression that maybe she was taking care of a sick family member, or she had some kind of scheduling issues with kids or something like that.
That's what I was thinking too, maybe a personal.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I'm trying to see where I read that.
And so, yeah, I thought it was strange that she said that my main form of communication with you is going to be through email. Did you guys pick up on that?
Yeah.
And they were short little emails. There was nothing substantial.
Right.
They're pretty vague too.
Okay. So we see that there's a lack of trust between her and Follett because of the amount of time that she's not giving her, right? With regards to meetings and introducing her into the workplace and taking her around. And go ahead, did you have something to say?
I was mainly scratching, but I did find where it said, it was like in the second paragraph on the first page. It just says, at home for 6 months for personal reasons. She communicated mainly through email. So it just says personal reasons.
Okay, good. So what is Vaughn's contribution to what's going on in this dynamic? So Vaughn is the assistant product manager?
The associate project.
Associate.
He's one step above her.
Yeah, that's what it said.
He's the assistant.
He didn't want to have anything to do with her. He seemed like he was not interested in training her or working with her. And he, like Gerald said, he gave her copying jobs to do.
Right.
They would give her tasks to do that, and then it's like he'd give her tasks to do and say, this is really important, you need to do this now. And then he'd give her another task to do, like, this is really important, you need to do this now. And she was even saying, like, I don't understand, which one do you want me to do first? Like, what's important? And he kind of blew up about it, and which I thought was funny. It's, oh no, never mind.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, said this was open email.
He gave her a storyboard to work on in a particular day. He tells her to work on a storyboard, tells her it's really important. And then before the day's over, he says, oh, I have this, I need you to fix these PowerPoint slides for a presentation I have to give tomorrow. And she's like, well, which one do you want me to do? Like you said, the storyboard was, important, but you want the PowerPoint presentation for tomorrow. Kind of like, how can I be doing two things at once? And then he gets mad at her and says, well, I'm doing things that you don't know how to do. That's why I can't work on the slides. But she doesn't know how to do them because nobody's taking the time to train her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they have
what I didn't like is how they handled the situation. Like, it looked like he sent something to Natalie.
Yeah.
And then Natalie just comes in and she's like, oh, if he tells you to do something, you do it. Instead of being, as a supervisor, like, hey, what's going on? Like, try to get a little bit of her input, not just taking his word for it and his side, obviously. Disrespectful, the fact that she didn't even think to consider what she had to say or her side of the story, and she just, like, boom, like, shut her down, like, hey, he's not your boss, but if he tells you to do something, you better do it. So I didn't like
you
that.
brought up a good point with that, because she did at one point in the beginning say, when she was first introducing her kind of into the company, she said, remember that you work for me or you answer to me only, kind of. Do you guys remember her saying that?
Yeah.
But then now she says, yeah, like Carla said, if he asks you to do something, it's important, so you better do it. So it's like, well, do I work for you or do I work for him? So she kind of, the roles weren't really defined as far as who she's supposed to be working for or taking direction for. And then, like you said, Carla, she lost some trust dividends, I guess we would call it, from the book, when, or he did, when he sent the email to Follett complaining about her lack of jumping right in and helping him with the PowerPoint slides by her questioning, well, what's more important? So he sends the email to Follett complaining about her. And then Follett comes out and doesn't even get her opinion on it. She just says, hey, if he asks you to do something, do it. So they're both kind of not building up any trust dividends with her as far as relationship and trying to be straight with her and working with her.
Well, what's interesting is it says right here that she made a rare personal visit to the fictional.
Right.
So obviously she hadn't come around very often, and here 5 minutes after she confrontation with Jamie, Follett shows up there and starts to reprimand her for not doing what she was asked.
Yeah.
A rare personal visit.
Good. And so it wants us to talk about the appraisal that she received from Follett. So remember, she's at a lunch or a meeting with a coworker, and the coworker says, did you have your 3-month review? And she's like, no, I guess I didn't really realize that I was supposed to have one. So she presses Follette for one. And she kind of like, well, if you insist, I'll give you one. So why do you think she received such a poor appraisal, and did she deserve it? So Follette kind of gives her some feedback that she's not too happy with.
Well, she told her that she wasn't participating in the meetings, her lack of initiative and assertiveness, and that she was usually quiet in the meetings. And I think she was frustrated because she really didn't know where she could contribute, because every time she had in the past, she was just kind of given these little tiny jobs where she was not able to really give in and participate like she wanted to. And so he was holding back. That was even the case when the CEO had taken all of these new hires in his office, and he had talked to all of them. And he noticed that when she first came to the company, she was very active in participating and giving ideas. But in this particular meeting, she was real quiet and reserved. And so he pulled her aside, wanting to know how she was doing. And she had an opportunity to really open up and say something, but she didn't want to come across as a whiner or somebody that wasn't happy. So she was very careful to pick that she had a hard time communicating with Jamie, and that Natalie was fair with her. So I thought that was interesting. And then here she gets her review and is told that she doesn't participate like she should.
Right. Anybody else want to say anything about the review? She does give her a positive. I'm trying to find it in the case study where it talks about it.
It's on page 8.
Okay, yes, it is.
Oh, performance evaluation, right.
Yeah, her ability to work with people around the office and her verbal and analytical skills are the pluses.
Okay. So I thought that was good that she did point out some good things about her. So do you think that her poor performance on the appraisal for the things that she was lacking was justified, and did she deserve that?
With Follette and Vaughn, they kind of have maybe or how they want to work with people. So they're probably thinking, this is how we do things, and if you just got to step into the line and just kind of jump into it, and if you can't, get left behind. And so for them, they're probably thinking like, it's been 3 months, you should kind of be able to work with us by now or something. And so maybe from their point of view, they're thinking, isn't she? So from her perspective, yeah, it's where you don't want to give your opinion because you're just feeling like no one's gonna anyways, and so that's probably why she's holding back a little bit. And so but I think from their point of view, they probably think, well, done, and if you haven't adjusted by now, that you need to fix something.
Okay. I thought it was pretty big of her to agree with Follette as far as the negative comments that she made about her. It tells us in here that she states, just trying to find it here. Follette criticized her for the lack of initiative and assertiveness, adding that Rinaldi was unusually quiet at meetings. Rinaldi calmly replied that she did not want to come across as a know-it-all MBA, which is what Vaughn was branding her as, right? So she was trying not to fit into his stereotype, and that she was still learning. And she says that for her part, Rinaldi had to admit that she had been quiet at meetings and promised to respond to Follette's suggestions. So she kind of told Follette, she took what she said and said that she was going to try and do better, is what I got from that. You guys agree?
It also said that she didn't take the initiative on higher value projects, which she never really, I don't think, had opportunities for that.
I was just looking she didn't even
Right.
actually get an interesting assignment until October.
Right.
When did she start working there again?
Started in February.
February?
No,
Yeah, that's
she
a
started
long
in
time not to
September.
have anything to do.
No, she's been reading a lot
Yeah.
and copying and getting people to sign things.
And then it also says that Follett thought that Rinaldi should not find it hard to get along with Jamie.
Right. And so that was interesting, right?
Yeah.
Probably the only person. Well, it's probably the only person that gets along well with Jamie. And she has to see throughout the office that everyone else is kind of having difficulties. But especially because she's the, like, with the PowerPoint thing, she should see how she's seen firsthand kind of, she's had a glimpse of what the relationship is like, and from both sides, like seeing what they're both contributing. So that and then make that comment is just weird.
Yeah. And I think it tells us too that the coworkers were sympathetic to her after that big blow up with regards to the PowerPoint, right? They said they were sympathetic.
That was a different
Yeah.
point.
Oh, that was a different one. Okay.
Well, you know, that she had her performance review on the 12th, I guess, or somewhere in there, December 12th.
Yeah,
And then it said somewhere month is when she got in that big argument.
a week later.
Yeah, he said, well, you're hard to please. He protested saying you're an arrogant MBA, just like all are alike. And
Right.
then it was interesting because he finally apologized to her after she confronted him. And he said that he was feeling really frustrated about being overlooked for a promotion. So
Okay.
these guys that was looking for a promotion, and he was angry at the world because he had been overlooked. And so he openly admitted that he had been treating her ugly because of the fact that he was frustrated that he hadn't been promoted.
Right. And it tells us that he got into that position in 2006 from operations, and the normal time frame to be promoted is 2 to 3 years. So he was right in that time frame. So that fits right in with his statement of being frustrated for being overlooked.
But then they found out that Follett hadn't really trained anybody else. There was another individual that stepped forward, a PM, who had worked under them and complained that her training had been second rate. So, you know, here she was finding confirmation that it wasn't her personally, it was just them, the individuals that had treated everybody that had worked for them the same way.
Right. And one of the reasons why she decided to go and work for that company was because of the training that they gave, right? So she was hoping to get this, you know, her foot in the door and get this really exceptional training and be able to move up the ladder quicker than if she were to go with a different company. That was one of the reasons why she chose this company. So that can be frustrating on her side. So what are some of the things that Martha can do to repair the situation? So with Follett, we can take her first, and then we can do Vaughn. So what are some of the things that she can do with Follett?
Actually commit her to a conversation, because it sounds like it's hard for her to even talk to her for 5 minutes without dismissing her.
Yeah.
Kind of figure out what she expects of her, like what Follett expects of Rinaldi. Then they're like, okay, what is it that is there anything? Like, I understand that literally what tasks you want me working on, so if you could just tell me what your expectations are. I would like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would talk to Paulette, Natalie, and Vaughn at the same time, like in one meeting, just so that everyone's on the same page, and it's not like a she said, he said type of thing, and so that everyone's expectations are clarified. Vaughn, what he expects from her, Natalie, what she expects from her, so that everyone can just kind of agree on something and see what it is that she can be in assistance to for the company in general.
Okay. Sounds good. And I think in the reading that we did on the speed of trust, they talk about that as talking plainly or talking straight. So just
Talk
coming
straight,
right
yeah.
out, yeah, just coming right out and saying, what is it that you expect of me, you know, and this is what I expect of you. I was expecting to be trained better or to have at least be given the opportunity to have some of your time, right? Because that's one of her frustrations that she had, is that she didn't have any of her time and Vaughn didn't want to give any of his time. So if she would just plainly come out and say it, you know, then maybe that would have helped the situation a little bit. What would be some of the advantages to Rinaldi for staying at the company?
She had achieved her ultimate goal to get that training that she was pursuing in the first place. I mean, she had graduated pursuing, what was it, computer science or something to that effect, and then decided to go ahead and pursue her degree in marketing. And, you know, so she's got to stay with it if that's what she ultimately wants to pursue. She can't get discouraged, and she's got to communicate and be able to seek opportunities there to show that she's a talented individual that can contribute to it. So she's definitely got to stay around and find ways to communicate and work with these individuals she's been assigned to work with right now.
Okay. Anyone else want to add anything about the advantages for staying?
Eventually, I think she really will get that training and that experience. Maybe not in the way that she would have liked. Sitting down, kind of teaching, like kind of like I think like Vaughn said, showing her the ropes. But she probably would have pointing out to me like every company that kind of behavior, and so and my dad actually told me about his first job. Like I think 2 weeks after he got there, he had just humiliated him in front of everyone, but he stuck it out for 2 years because he was like, "This is the job I have. I'm going to do the best I can, so that I can it'll look good on the resume or better. Here for this long instead of I was here for 4 months. I'm like, why were you there for only 4 months?" And that could be a red flag for future employers, saying,
Right.
she quit after such a short amount of time with her first job. Like, would she just do? It could be a problem.
Okay. It also did say that the vice president did send her an email, right, congratulating her on her work, putting some numbers together.
Yeah.
And he copied Follett and Vaughn on it, and they chose not to even like bring it up and say, you know, yeah, good job on the work. So she does know, like one of the advantages if she stays, that the higher ups are aware of what she's capable of doing, right?
Yeah, she's already proven herself there.
Yeah.
It
So
seems
what-
like she's one of her expertise is doing the presentations on return on investments.
Yep.
For both of her positions, when she was with the pizza place and now with the water, the Potomac Water, she did presentations on return on investments, and they were very impressed, both of them.
Yeah. So I think your computer skills added to that as well, right? Because she was first studying computer science. Okay. So what would be some of the disadvantages if she decided to leave the company?
She would never know. She would never know she could have made it, you know, if she left and didn't continue to pursue it.
Okay.
Another
Question
big
herself.
thing,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, thing is the fact that the biggest reason that she decided to go with Potomac is because the biggest reason she went with Potomac is because they were a national company. They had connections everywhere. They were established. They had department. I was doing really well, but it was just one product, and it was kind of like it wasn't as established and as safe as Potomac was. the Chicago area, and so she risks like the opportunity to have future connections. Just
So if she
a lot of
left,
she misses out on a lot of opportunities.
okay, so if she left Potomac, the water company, she would be giving that up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So let's see. They want me to share with you how the story ended. So this is what happened after the new year started, and she was. It tells us that Follett and Vaughn both left shortly after Rinaldi learned that Follett had been job hunting during Rinaldi's time there. So I guess that was one of the reasons why she was so distracted, is because she had been looking for another job, and that's why she didn't have the time to train. It tells us that Rinaldi had 2 new bosses who admired her work and relied on her, and she was promoted ahead of schedule. So it wants us to talk about what Rinaldi learned about herself after all this happened.
Wait, I'm a little confused. Who was promoted?
Rinaldi was. Martha was.
Martha was promoted to another. Did they say what she was promoted to?
No, it just said she was promoted ahead of schedule. So I guess the timing is within 2 to 3 years, you get promoted.
Uh-huh.
So it tells us that Follett and Vaughn both left shortly after she was trying to make a decision, and that Rinaldi found out that Follett had been job hunting during the time that she started there. So after Follett and Vaughn left, Rinaldi had 2 new bosses, and they each admired her work and relied on her. And then she was promoted ahead of schedule.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So she had a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Right. So
Just
they
had to work
want
it
us. They want us to talk about some lessons that Rinaldi learned about herself by going through this whole thing that she went through.
Now, she proved that she's not a quitter. I mean, she stuck it out, as miserable as it was.
I think maybe another lesson is you never really know what else is going on, like why people are acting the way they were with both Follett and Vaughn, because Vaughn exploded at her that one time. That's because he's overlooked that promotion. So everybody else that's kind of at that stage is being promoted, and he's not. Kind of feel like, okay, I should forward in the company. That's what everyone else does, and then looking for another job. So of course she wasn't really caring that much about what she was doing. She was like, I'm out of here. And so just probably why she's working part-time. But that's probably another thing, that you never really know what's going on. And like, you can't just be like, why are they this way? Like, well, why are they that way? Kind of think about it.
Right. So there were underlying agendas that each of the 3 of them had, right? Rinaldi had her own expectations as far as what she thought should happen. Follett was worried about getting another job. She was out job hunting. And Vaughn was kind of perturbed because he was being overlooked for a promotion. So they were all dealing with their own little agendas. So I think one of the things that Rinaldi learned about herself was, you know, maybe she might have been thinking that she was doing something wrong, or maybe that she wasn't doing everything that she could have done to help the situation. But I think after everything played out, it might have helped her have more confidence, knowing that, you know, a lot of it wasn't on her. It was on the other 2 players.
And I think sometimes when you have negative experiences and you see, like, her outcome was positive because other people recognize the things, her talents and things that she could perform at, that that experience, just that experience going through it, helps you to be able to handle situations in the future. You know, it may not have been the best situation for her, but she gained experience from it. She handled it pretty well. I mean, she did handle it pretty discreetly, and she was able to move forward.
Absolutely. And a lot of times those things that are difficult for us to kind of face or challenges that we have in uncertain situations, like Barb said, it ends up being for our ultimate benefit because it's something that we can add as an experience that we were able to get through. So it'll help us when we face another challenge, like, or another difficult coworker down the line, knowing that it is something that we can get through, and it'll make us stronger in the end for it.
Yeah, I think also it taught her like how to be a good manager. Like she has experiences of what she doesn't want to be like and what it's
Right.
like to be a new person and working under people. And with those experiences, like the learning that she obtained, she's able to see once she is a manager and people are working under her, she's going to be able to treat them so differently because of her experience, her negative experiences that she had.
That's an excellent observation, Paula. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's a great point.
That is very good.
What principles outlined in this week's reading apply to this situation? So as far as I understood, we started reading from the new book, right? The five dysfunctional. So,
Yeah, 5 dysfunctions of it.
yeah. So did you get anything from this week's reading that applied to this case?
Well, they were real similar in the fact that they didn't get along. They didn't communicate. They all had their own agendas. You know, there was nobody really leading anybody in their own thing, and that's kind of what the team was the theme was in the reading that we had this last week. Everybody was looking out for themselves, and they weren't really communicating or debating anything in their meetings. Everything was just, you know, cut to a cord where everything was just, they met, they didn't really cover anything, they went their ways, and they weren't productive, so nothing was getting really.
Right. So they hired this, or they promoted this woman, Catherine, into the position. And I think the way that it was left off was that her boss ends up having a meeting with her or is out for dinner with her or something, and he's basically trying to tell her what he thinks she should do. And she kind of talks to him plainly and saying, you know, you have to trust me and know that whatever decisions I make, that I'm gonna be there to work through them, and that, you know, I'm gonna do the right thing for the company, more or less. I don't know if you guys got that out of it. It was almost like he was trying to micromanage her, where he didn't want the responsibility, but he wanted to tell her what she should do.
Well, the chairman had done that with Jeff, I believe his name is. The chairman had been very involved every day in their meetings and kind of really had his thumb on top of Jeff. And so Jeff wasn't able really to do the things he needed to, and he was so effective leading that his agendas, he would start the meetings right on time, and he made sure the meetings ended right on time. And the agenda was so packed that they never really challenged each other, never really discussed anything. And so she wanted to go in, she had observed and seen this, and so she wanted to be able to go and fix the problem because she could see that they didn't have trust in their team.
Okay.
And so she told the chairman, just let me do what you hired me to do. Do you trust me that I'm going to be able to do it? And that's when he realized, okay, I did push hard to get you hired, and I'll let you do what you need to do.
Okay. So do you think that if we related that to the case study, that maybe Martha could have been a little bit more forceful in her communications with Follett and Vaughn? You know, maybe that would have helped her out a little bit by saying, you know, you guys hired me. I've got this, you know, great education. Why don't you put my skills to work instead of having me photocopy stuff and read marketing material? Possibly. I mean, could have been something that she could have done. Okay, so I guess we're gonna, does anyone want to add anything about what we read over in the case study, or any conclusions that they came to on your write-up that you think other members of the group might find helpful? It's like I'm early morning seminary. Nobody wants to talk to me.
But I was just thinking, we talked pretty well in detail about most of the subjects but there was only one other thing that kept going to my mind was when she was looking at it and contemplating and doing the pros and cons of her decisions, she also wanted to see how many women were in a management position. And that was helpful to her to know. And when she went to the talk, that there was potential for her to be promoted, and that there were women in management positions. And I think Vaughn had the same problem there too, had a problem with that though.
Yeah, I see. I thought that was an interesting statement that she made, because it says at the pizza place there was only one other female manager, and then when I looked at the chart, organizational chart, I didn't really see any other females higher up. I saw them on the same level as Martha, but not higher up. I don't know how that swayed her decision as far as the females, but maybe it was more on a global scheme instead of just that department.
Yeah, and they really didn't put in names on that organizational chart. There was just product manager, so they didn't really put in everything.
Yeah. So she thought she'd have a better chance as a female making it up if she went with the water company.
Kathleen, one of the things that I brought up and I talked about a little bit was the fact that there was some gossip going on. One individual in the office that was quick to point out that Jamie and Natalie were supposedly having an affair. When they would have their little meetings at the bars or wherever they were going, that's when she opened up and was complaining about her workplace to her peers. And, so I kind of addressed the importance of keeping those kind of topics to yourself and not going around and spreading dirty laundry, because it's something that only your office and your impression to others when you're willing to open up and share what you feel is the dirty laundry about everything that's happening. And so I kind of addressed that as a point that I thought was necessary, that she needed to be careful and not get sucked into that and continue to impress people because of the type of individuals that she was.
So I'm glad that you brought that point up, Gerald. And the way I interpreted it was when the person that she was out with that brought it up, all she said was, yeah, they seem to be pretty close. So she didn't really elaborate on it or try and gossip about it. She just made a little statement and let it slide. So I thought she handled it well.
But it was another occasion where she opened up and complained about the way her and Jeff had gotten into it. And that's where she kind of let her guard down. Mm-hmm. She handled that situation great when that lady said something and caught her by her surprise how frank she was about talking so openly. But she let down, started talking about Jeff and what a rude guy he was and how hard he was to please. And it's those kind of settings that I thought, well, maybe I need to go find something that talks about inter-office gossip and try to comments in a person deal, telling her, hey, be cautious, don't allow yourself to do that, because you come across as an individual that nobody else is going to want to trust, because you're doing things that aren't necessarily uplifting or making you a better person.
Right, and they talked about that in the Speed of Trust book, where don't talk about somebody as if they weren't there, type of thing. That was one of the traits.
Yes.
That you were supposed to focus on. So that's good. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else?
Just, I guess, to kind of piggyback on that, I do remember thinking that she kind of had to be careful with that one instant when she was talking about when Jamie kind of blew up on her. But stressed, but she even just said like, I don't really know what's going on. I remember her saying like, or she even explained to the people like, oh, it turns out he was mad about this.
Okay.
And so she didn't just say, oh, he's just a, like she even, and when she was talking to those friends of hers from the office, she was saying like, well, it turns out like he told me afterwards that this was what was going on. And so like, although that was kind of like a borderline, like you have to be careful, it's almost kind of like a gossipy thing, she did point that out, what was going on with him in the background,
Okay.
which
Good.
could have also been personal, but I guess it kind of helped a little bit.
So did you guys all come up with the same solution for her? Did you all say that she should stay, or did some of you say she should change managers or go back to deep dive pizza?
I recommended that she stay. You know,
Okay.
that worked hard. She had really studied this company. She really felt good about her decision. And so I recommended that she stay put, that things were only going to get better if she just gave it time. And then
Okay.
the end result was that, yes, it did in fact turn out to be a better situation. So
Good. How about you, Barb?
I felt the same way, that she should stay and work it out and overcome the things that were coming through, because she did. She really did a thorough research prior to going there. So
Right.
I felt the same way.
And Katie and Carla, did you come up with the same?
Yeah. I figured, if anything, switching brands or just departments was her worst option.
Okay.
Left to go to deep dive, at least she was gone. Even just switch departments, she still would have been there and everyone would have seen that she moved.
Right.
And so that could have played negative impact on her in the company. And
Yeah.
so staying was her best option.
Okay.
And also just it's good to stick things out, and because eventually they work out, and if not, by the time you've waited long enough, it's like, all right, I've done my bit and I can leave now. It's safe. Or instead of just saying, wow, that was hard, I'm gonna leave. And so
Okay. Thank
she
you.
should stay.
How about you, Carla? Did you come up with the same?
Pretty
Yes.
much. I would just really talk to them and not just brush things under the rug. I would definitely just be straightforward, not disrespectful, just kind of tell them how I'm feeling, and in her case, why she's not, participating like she used to, and kind of give a little bit of what she's been going through, or again, like clarify expectations and see what it is that they expect from her, so everyone's on the same page, including her.
Okay, great. So it seems like we all came up to the similar consensus that they needed to do better at their communications, that Martha needed to be more straightforward and open as far as what her expectations were, and that she needed to find out exactly from Follette what her expectations as a boss were, and to find out what the dynamics were working with Vaughn, like what the roles were for each of them and what they were each responsible for. So it mainly boiled down to communication, right? Better communication, and I think more respect for each other in the workplace, because it didn't seem like they respected each other the way they talked to each other or gave them each time. When you appreciate somebody, you give them your time and your attention. And it did talk about one time when she went in to talk to Follette, she wouldn't even look up from her computer. She just said, go ask Vaughn. So, yeah, communication was a big key. All right, anyone have anything else that they want to add before we cut the recording?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right, and who's the leader for next week?
I am.
Gerald? Okay, and who's recording? Do we know?
Well, Mini Money Mo.
Anybody know?
Do you want me to try again?
Yeah, and if you need help, give me a call and I'll walk you through. I tried to text you, and apparently I've got the wrong phone number because somebody came back and said, "Sorry, I don't know a Gerald."
Yeah. I don't think I have any of your phone numbers. I have to. Was it in one of the emails?
It's on Google. It's a shared document on the Google Drive for Gmail.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah? Oh. I'll have to
Let me-
look.
There's that
Let
group
me
text
double
we
check
have.
with you real
Have
quick.
you not been getting those?
Bar, I have 412-877-9382.
9381.
9381.
81. Yes.
Well, somebody's been getting a lot of texts from me about. They finally came back. I said, "Are you recording tonight?" And they said, "Why am I supposed to be recording?" And I said, "Our meeting." And she goes, "Sorry, I don't know it, Gerald." I was like, "Well, obviously I don't have the right number."
Oh, that's funny.
9381. Okay, I've got it right now.
All right, great. Okay, so you're going to email me the link, Gerald, and I'll post it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome job, guys.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great week.
Bye-bye.